Hi, I'm Seajay, and I create stuff. You might be saying to yourself, isn't it a couple days late to post fake Mega Evolutions for the Legends EA starters? And honestly, you'd be right. If these were fake. That's right. While the other artists were using the last couple days to share their fan-made concepts for the game, I spent my time flying to Japan, breaking into Game Freak, sneaking around a little, and committing to memory what the new Megas look like. Why not just steal the designs? And show them to you? Because that's a dumb question. That's why I didn't want to have them on me in case I got caught, obviously. We're going to start by looking at the totally real, 100% certified, absolutely totally accurate Emboar Mega Evolution that Game Freak had on their computers when I looked at them. Now, this was incredibly interesting to find and pretty tricky to recreate. It took me 2 attempts. None of the other ones took me 2 tries. So, hats off to you, Emboar, for being dumb. Not really, actually. Tepig is one of my favorite starters, and Emboar maybe doesn't quite live up to what I think Tepig could have, but this is the perfect opportunity for me, Game Freak, to rectify what should have been. Look at this Mega Evolution. I think it's really, really cool. And they moved it away from firefighting type, which I think was a good call, especially as you'll see the other new Megas gain additional typings. So it would be kind of weird if Emboar was left out of that. Something that I think they may have been going for in creating this design is if you look at the original Emboar's arms, he actually has 2 tufts of fur that come off of each side. They're kind of strange, but to me, they look like pig ears, which I think is why this Emboar's arms turn into more pig heads. What does he do with them? Ooh, I don't know. I could maybe only theorize, as this is not my design, but probably shoot super hot fire, like really, really hot fire. And I think that they may actually be sentient, and even the tail. I remember Emboar's tail is actually usually a big, floofy ball of fur, but in this case, it seems like it's just a little eared something or other. So Emboar's got 4 heads now, but 8 sets of ears? That's a lot. Also only 2 legs, so maybe you could make a riddle out of him or something, I don't know. One thing that I thought was really, really cool is Emboar has, in its base design at least, kind of a ring of fire around its head. It's there, but sometimes it just feels like it's just there. Like, I don't know what it is. I couldn't define it as anything. In this design, Game Freak has turned it into a cape. A big, bellowing, fiery cape, which looks great. And my rendering probably isn't up to Game Freak standards. I've tried a lot of different ways to do fire, and it's just not my thing. Do you guys ever have those where you're just not good at drawing them? And then, anyways, we don't need to talk about my insecurities. But we should talk about the warthog look. Now, in Japan, they have a lot of boars, like wild boars, that are big and hurt people. I don't know how many people they kill. Maybe not that many. I couldn't tell you. I don't know the death rates to boars in Japan off the top of my head. Regardless, I think this added warthog tusk look across all 3 pig heads is pretty intimidating and gives this version of Emboar a much scarier look. Meet Mega Emboar, the Mega Fire Pig Pokemon. Yes, that is its actual designation. I didn't give it that. Mega Emboar appears to have 4 different heads that are all sentient and able to think for themselves. Despite this, they're often well-coordinated and able to dish out intense, fiery attacks in multiple directions at the same time. Mega Emboar's flaming cape burns so hot that weak water-based attacks may not even reach the Pokemon before evaporating. Now, let's talk Meganium. I can tell, based on my break into Game Freak that was real, that they kind of had a hard time coming up with a concept for Meganium. For such a plain-bodied Pokemon, how did they follow such a unique route? I wonder if maybe it started with the typing. Choosing to go grass electric when before it was just a grass type Pokemon is a pretty interesting decision, and it probably led to some interesting concepts that developed. When I was reading through their notes, there was a lot of talk about this Pokemon being able to absorb sunlight through all the flowers that line its neck and tail, and basically be able to convert that straight into electricity. Now, it can use this electricity in 2 primary ways. I guess 3, really. The first of which is electric-based attacks. When this Pokemon is introduced into this game, its learnable moves are going to be updated to make Mega Meganium much more viable in battle, including the introduction of electric type moves. It appears that there's some kind of special ability that this Pokemon has that when in sunlight, it doesn't just boost fire type moves, but it also gets a boost to its electric type attacks, which is pretty interesting. So that's the first way it can use this electricity that it generates, is to attack. The second is to power its body. It may not be very obvious from my drawing, but this version of Meganium is much larger than its original. Not like too much, it's not like buildings tall, right? It's not a Gigantamax, but it does have a significantly longer neck and tail, as well as a little bit longer legs to match this. I think they're trying to go for a bit more of a modern sauropod take. If you look at things like Supersaurus with these gigantic whipping tails, they have much stronger torsos and front limbs to support these giant necks that they had. They're incredibly large, and this Pokemon is reflective of that. Its neck is a little bit obscured by the number of flower petals that grow along it, but I believe that's intentional. This Pokemon is much better camouflaged now to blend into the grassy, dense forest environments that it can be found in. The third way that its electricity can be used is in the form of berries. This Pokemon, as the herb Pokemon, which is its designation, can now grow fruit on its body. When it has excess electricity, it basically grows it into these little berries that are like living batteries. I imagine that, or Game Freak imagines that school children in the Kalos region love to get these from Mega Meganium and give them to their friends, because when you bite into one of these berries, it gives you a nice little shock with each bite. And so you either have to spit it out, or if you can finish one, I imagine it'd be quite the challenge. Meet Mega Meganium, the herb Pokemon. Mega Meganium has a bizarre physiology that seems to be able to convert sunlight directly into electricity. The many petals that line its neck and tail increase its surface area when unfolded, allowing it to absorb greater amounts of sunlight and recharge itself faster. Excess electricity is converted into berries that give the user a small shock with each bite, making them a common prank among Kalos schoolchildren. Last up, the design that I stole for Mega Feraligatr. Now, you may be wondering, Mega Emboar is the Mega Fire Pig Pokemon. Mega Meganium also has Mega again in the name Meganium. What does Mega Feraligatr get? The answer is nothing. It's the big jaw Pokemon. Its name doesn't have anything. Really, I don't know what they were thinking with this one. There's no Mega tie-in. There's no consistency from Game Freak, and that's a real issue in my opinion. But we'll see how you feel this design works. For me, I surprisingly really like it. And I think it's because it's a real Game Freak design, and I like those. But let's talk a little bit more about what we see going on here. First off, it's a steel type now. Water steel, mimicking Empoleon, but just for the Mega Evolution. Pretty cool, though. It's interesting, if you go and read through all of Feraligatr's Pokedex entries, they're actually about how big and scary its jaw is, which is why they decided to give it a big tail in making this Mega Evolution. Really, though, I do think it's kind of interesting if you look at the pattern with these three Mega Evolutions. Mega Emboar gets its big pig-shaped fists. Mega Meganium's neck and body kind of become much bigger. Mega Feraligatr, in terms of size, its body isn't really changing too much, but its tail gets a lot bigger, and then the spikes that run along its head and back also enlarge significantly. You'll also notice some metal bracers where it used to have large scales on its body, and it's just generally scalier. It's got a rougher appearance, more vicious, I guess, is a good way to think about it. It's interesting, though, if you look at a lot of Mega designs, practicality isn't really the goal. I know that sounds weird, but look at Mega Gyarados. What is that shape? They turned it into a caterpillar. It's not aerodynamic. Its head is scary. Like, it's a cool design, don't get me wrong, but it's not efficient from a physiological standpoint. And I think they're doing another one of those here. This big tail is fantastic. It's huge. It can allow Feraligatr to kind of attack from a bit of a longer range, but I mean, this thing's going to slow it down on land. Like, it's so big that it's probably tripping over its own tail if it's not careful in battle. But that being said, it's basically like a giant flail or battle axe. I mean, it's huge. It's probably razor sharp. It's very intimidating. And same with its back spines. Attacking Feraligatr is probably a nightmare, as all of its scales are now hardened steel and razor sharp. It'd be like brushing against a shark, except for it was made of 1,000 knives and it cut your entire body the second you touched it. Like, that's kind of the energy that this thing is giving off. To me, I like it. I think it's pretty cool. Meet Mega Feraligatr, the big jaw Pokemon. Mega Feraligatr's body is covered in hard steel scales so sharp that they give injury to anything that even brushes past them. This, combined with the enlarged tail and head spikes possessing their own razor-sharp edges, make Feraligatr a fierce opponent in any situation. Their tail has grown so large that it can impede movement on land, but simultaneously it makes them much faster in aquatic battles. And there you have it, my totally very real, not fan concept designs that I memorized and then redrew to present to you after almost 50 hours of travel to Japan and back that included an intense break-in to a video game company's headquarters. Why'd I write that sentence? Really though, I hope you guys are excited for this game as I am. I know it's going to have flaws. I mean, I played Scarlet, I'm not dumb, but seeing the first trailer really got me pumped. I wasn't even going to make a video this week, but after watching it, I couldn't help myself. I hope you'll share with me your theories, your expectations, and even what you think some of the new forms or megas might be. Until next time, thanks.